Story 1. Dogs can tell when you're coming home by how much of your scent is left in the house if you have a daily routine. Story 2. A day on Venus takes longer to complete than a year on Venus. How? It simply takes longer for Venus to complete one rotation around its own axis than it does for the planet to orbit around the Sun. From my memory, I believe it's only about a 10 to 15-day difference. But still an interesting fact. Another fun fact is that aluminum used to be such a precious metal and so expensive that the top point of the Washington Monument is made of pure aluminum. At the time of construction, that aluminum would be like capping it with platinum today. Story 3. The name for the Arctic comes from the ancient Greek word for bear, Arctos. It is named after one of the constellations, Ursa Major, Big Bear, or Ursa Minor, Little Bear, and there are bears living there too. So, basically, the Arctic is called Bear, and the Antarctic is called Not Bear. Story 4. A Siamese cat's fur color is dependent on its body temperature. That's why the colder areas of the body, such as the nose, paws, and tail, are darker than the rest. Story 5. Some species of burrowing spiders keep very small frogs in their burrows to keep them free of bugs too small for the spider to capture but might try to eat the spider's eggs. This means that tiny frogs act like spider guards. Story 6. I once told my son that there was a scientist for everything. So we started a tradition where he would pick something to see if there were people that studied it, and I would give some age-appropriate examples of what they do. Thank you for the suggestions. He might explore the study of metals and alloys and when we use each kind. He is always talking about the different eras of human history, such as the primitive age, modern age, future age, and so on. This could be a good segue into discussing the Iron Age and Bronze Age. Since it has been mentioned in many replies, apparently the podcast Ologies is similar to this. It may not have the most family-friendly vocabulary, but I do not know as I have not listened to any of it. Story 7. The building in the world with the most toilets is Wembley Stadium. Cows get excited when they solve puzzles. The filling in a Kit Kat is broken up Kit Kats. One time a guy ate an airplane. Took him several years, but he did it. The little jump guinea pigs do when they're happy is called popcorning. When a cat walks towards you with its tail up, that means it likes you and is excited to see you. Elephants have a noise that means, there are bees here. Let's leave immediately. They played golf on the moon one time. I will add more if I think of them. What topics does she like? Story 8. Brigadier Sir Nils Olav is a king penguin. He is Colonel-in-Chief of the Norwegian King's Guard, as well as the mascot. He currently lives in the Edinburgh Zoo in Scotland. Story 9. You have 253 comments as of this post. Original poster. Only 112 more to go for a full year's worth of facts. Here's mine. The Romans were some of the first people to wear bikinis. Story 10. When a bee is chosen to be the new queen, it is given a special type of honey that completely changes its body, similar to how a Pokemon evolves. This is a simplified explanation, but it's still pretty cool to consider. Story 11. Chocolate was once used as currency by the Aztecs. More accurately, cacao beans were used. Worms have 5 hearts. The surface of Mars is covered in rust, making the planet appear red. The red food coloring, carmine, used in a lot of candy is made from a kind of beetle. There's a train station in Japan that has a cat station master, currently Natama. Cows have best friends and get stressed when separated. Tomatoes were once thought to be inedible since they're in the same family as nightshade, which is poisonous. Tomatoes' acidity interacted with lead plates, leading to lead poisoning. Apples float, but pears sink. Apples float because they are 25% air. Wombat poop is cube-shaped. Story 12. Hippopotamus milk is pink. Some fish cough. Do not eat too many carrots or your skin will turn orange. That happened to my own daughter. Some frogs will glow when they eat fireflies. Before 1913, parents could mail their kids to grandmas through the postal service. Story 13. This list of what groups of animals are called. For example, a group of elephants is a parade, a group of owls is a parliament, a group of wildcats is called a destruction. Story 14. Humans are bioluminescent and glow in the dark. but the light that we emit is 1,000 times weaker than our human eyes are able to pick up. Story 15. Lobsters were considered disgusting and low-class food, to the point that feeding them to prisoners too often was considered cruel and unusual punishment. Also, they are basically just big sea roaches. Story 16:1. Animals that lay eggs don't have belly buttons. Slugs have 4 noses. Camels have 3 eyelids. Flamingos turn pink from eating shrimp. Kangaroos cannot walk backward. A hummingbird weighs less than a penny. Broccoli is classified as both a vegetable and a flower. The Hawaiian alphabet only has 12 letters. Fish cough. 10. Snails breathe through their foot. 11. If you keep a goldfish in a dark room, it will turn white. 12. Bullfrogs never sleep. 13. Elephants can't jump. 14. Pigs can get a sunburn. 15. Fish can drown. 16. The average American eats approximately 35,000 cookies in their life. 17. Only male turkeys gobble. 18. Penguins are the only birds that can both swim and not fly. 19. Male kangaroos are called boomers and females are called flyers. 20. Koalas sleep 22 hours a day. 21. Kangaroos can't smell. Story 17. The distance from your inner elbow to your wrist is the same as the length of your foot. This is interesting because it sounds unlikely the forearm looks longer. But if you put your foot to your arm, you can see that it's accurate. If you put both hands in front of you and write a word, your non-dominant hand will write an exact mirror of your dominant hand without you having to think about it. It will work with shapes too if the person is too young to write words. Story 18. Pufferfish are full of water, not air. I don't know if that's mind-blowing, but I learned that at the ripe old age of 38. It's logical when I think about it, but it never crossed my mind. Also, a spinning disk is going faster at the outer edge than in the middle. Story 19. The pyramids were ancient when Cleopatra was around. There were woolly mammoths on the planet when the pyramids were being built. We are now further away from the first man going to space than the first man in space was to the first airplane. J.K. Rowling is richer than the Queen. The Queen of England's personal net worth is about $520 million. J.K. Rowling's personal net worth is around $1 billion. The entirety of all the planets in the solar system can fit in between the Earth and the Moon. Sea otters hold hands when they sleep and have a favorite rock to hold onto in a secret pouch. A blue whale's heart is as big as a Volkswagen Beetle. Some penguins propose to mates by bringing them rocks for a nest. Rainbows are circles. The frequency of a cat's purr has been shown to improve bone density and strength. There are more trees on Earth than stars in the galaxy. Some galaxies technically are more than 5 times as thick as they are wide due to black holes throwing stuff out of the center. One of the Aztecs or Incas' favorite drinks was basically hot cocoa with hot peppers. Oxford University in England is older than the Aztec Empire. Fire burns spherically in space. That's all I got off the top of my head. Story 20. Most matter, such as water, can freeze, evaporate, and turn to liquid again at the same time in a small cup, given that the pressure and temperature are right. It's actually quite fascinating to watch in videos. For some 4-year-olds, it might be too much. Edit. A brief explanation of this phenomenon. The state of matter depends on the temperature and pressure and can be expressed by a diagram called a phase diagram. Each matter has a different phase diagram. Given the pressure and temperature, you can find its state or phase using the diagram. The curves on the diagram are coexistence curves, which means that matter can be in 2 phases at the same time in a closed vessel, such as liquid at the bottom of the vessel and gas floating above it. There is a triple point which can be seen in the image above, where all 3 phases can coexist. At the right pressure and temperature, you'll reach this unusual phenomenon. Bonus fact, water has 17 different phases, including liquid, gas, and 15 phases of ice, with each phase having molecules ordered differently. Story 21. Rabbits usually sleep during the day, but they often sleep with their eyes open so you can't tell. If you look closely, sleeping bunnies don't twitch their noses. Story 22. Pineapples used to be so expensive that people would rent them as a centerpiece for their party. Scotland's national animal is a unicorn. A single strand of spaghetti is a spaghetto. At birth, a baby panda is smaller than a mouse. Violin bows are usually made from horsehair. The color red doesn't make bulls angry. They are colorblind. Herring fish communicate with flatulence. If you heat up a magnet, it loses its magnetism. It snows metal on planet Venus. Garlic attracts leeches. In 1992, a shipping crate full of 28,000 rubber ducks fell off a ship. They kept washing up for years. Story 23. Parrotfish are responsible for most of the sand in the world. They eat coral, looking for the good stuff, and spit out the chewed-up pieces, which happen to now be sand. Story 24. A horse with a horn is called a unicorn. A horse with wings is called a pegasus. A horse with a horn and wings is a pegacorn. This is useful knowledge for 4-year-old girls, and she should practice getting it correct now. As an extra bonus, Mandarin for zebra translates as ribbon horse. Similarly, giraffes are long-necked deer, and pandas are big bear cats. Story 25. Hey, my big book of useless information may finally come in handy. The sleepiest mammals are armadillos, sloths, and possums. They sleep roughly 80% of their lives. The jump rope dates back to around 400 years ago, when Egyptian children would jump over vines. People used to make little circuses with fleas. It started around 14th century Asia but peaked in popularity in 16th century Great Britain. Pennies were introduced in 1787, and more than 300 billion pennies have been made. Now there are about 150 billion pennies, enough to wrap around the earth 137 times. There are only about 1943 pennies. One sold for $112,500 in 1999. One of the founders of this coffee empire was a fan of the book Moby Dick and wanted to name the company after the story's fabled ship Pequod. But they settled instead on naming the company after the ship's first mate, Starbuck. Story 26. Bats are more closely related to humans than they are to rats. Bats have webbed fingers which allow them to fly. The world's smallest bat is the size of a bumblebee. Not all bats come out at night. Some bats come out during the daytime. Some bats only eat fruit. Some bats make their house or nest according to gender. You'll have an all-male nest and an all-female nest with the babies. Baby bats are called pups. A single bat can eat half of its body weight, or up to 1,000 mosquitoes in a night. Last but not least, bats are awesome. Story 27. In the light spectrum, all colors combined equal white, while in art, all colors combined equal black. The speed needed to break the sound barrier is lowest at sea level due to air density. Story 28. 6-year-olds laugh an average of 300 times a day. Mint is good for repelling mice. Balls lose their bounce when stored in the freezer. Sharks do not blink. A snowflake takes around 2 hours to reach the ground. Clinophobia is the fear of going to bed. A woodpecker can peck 20 times per second. Camels have 3 eyelids. A new star is born in our galaxy every 18 days. Story 29. Lobster used to be considered a poor man's food. In the 17th and 18th centuries, American colonists found an overwhelming amount of lobster on the shore in giant mounds, sometimes up to a man's knees. There was so much of it, in fact, that a child could go down to the shore and come home with buckets full of dinner. People became sick of it and started feeding it to their farm animals, while natives used it as fertilizer. Due to this, it gained a stigma being associated with poverty. The only people who ate it were slaves, indentured servants, and prisoners. A group of servants from Massachusetts actually sued because they were so sick of eating lobster, and the courts ruled they would only have to eat it 3 times a week. It wasn't until the 1800s this started to change because railway managers discovered if they charged for lobster as if it were a delicacy to people who did not know its disgusting reputation, then people did actually like it. By 1920, it became the food of choice for the world's aristocrats. However, its popularity took a dive during the Great Depression and once again became a poor man's food. But by 1950, it had come back in fashion as the luxury food we know today. Story 30. My experience telling my 4-year-old an interesting fact. Someday the sun is going to burn out. Panics. The sun is going to burn out? Don't worry. It won't happen until long after you get old and die. Panic intensifies. I'm going to get old and die? Story 31. You can always see your own nose, but your brain learns to filter it out. You can always feel your own tongue inside your mouth. The only thing you are able to see clearly is the exact spot you're looking at. Your brain just fills in the rest. Oh, and the periphery of your vision is in black and white. Story 32. Elephants are really good at swimming. There have been a few cases where ships carrying an elephant as part of a circus act or for a zoo would sink far away from land, only for the elephant to show up on the shore several days later, little worse for wear. They use their trunks as snorkels. Story 33. The alarm pheromone released by honeybees smells just like bananas. That's why banana-scented lotion and shampoo are bad ideas. When one bee stings, the others will sting the same spot. A female calf with a male twin is called a freemartin. A hen will lay an egg every day or every other day but won't start sitting on them until she's laid enough. They all hatch 21 days after she starts incubating, and they'll peep to each other right before they hatch, so they'll all hatch together.